doing? DJ Anubis.
And DJ Neko.
Here with you on the Mealtime Radio Podcast. Going to talk a little bit about sharks again.
That's one of your favorite subjects.
Yeah, I did a report about a year ago, which I'll be touching on a little bit throughout this discussion. We're going to be talking mainly about the shark attack in Hurghada. I guess it's in Egypt, or it's a resort, Egyptian resort out there. Recently, a young Russian man, Vladimir Popov, who was only 23, was attacked savagely by a tiger shark, and it was caught on video. So much like my discussion with Simon Nealis a year ago, the footage I have is something that's out there, but there's always a great debate of whether or not people should be showing it. We don't do it for any kind of disrespect to the victim or the family. This is more of an educational discussion about sharks, just like the last one I was, about certain things I've seen on the video. And another case recently with a young man, Cameron Robbins, who disappeared after jumping off a boat from celebrating graduation.
Oh, I saw that.
So there's a lot of crazy stuff going on, but some of it's more of people just not aware, and then there's just people doing kind of dumb things. But apparently the tiger shark that attacked Vladimir was caught. It was beaten to death. I personally don't endorse culling of sharks or even going after to catch them. Obviously, I'm probably in a minority there, but they did determine after dissecting it that it was a shark that killed Vladimir. But at the same time, it's just a shark doing what sharks do.
Yeah, it doesn't have the same kind of remorse a human would have for hurting. Well, some humans have no remorse, but it's acting on natural basic instincts. It's not going out there in a malicious intent.
Right. It eats, and that's like any shark, or predator fish. Or any predator. Lions, tigers, bears. We always have that little discussion about animals in general.
They're wild animals. What just happened in Yellowstone? Somebody, there was a bison calf that was separated from the pack, and it got abandoned by the pack because someone tried to interfere. And then what else did they do? They tried to touch a big buffalo, and that it charged them, and I understand. I really want to pet a buffalo, really, really bad. I think they're majestic. I just they look like they have these giant, beautiful manes, and I get it. I really would like to pet a cheetah as well. However, I know that's not the right thing to do.
Yeah, look, when it comes to animals, we love animals. I would love to get in a shark cage and look at a shark, but
I did swim with sharks before, but they were
babies,
little,
and
I
swam with sharks too, just not by choice.
Yeah, he was bit by a shark. Excuse me. I went snorkeling in a controlled environment in a saltwater tank with rays and very, very small, what are they called? Those small dogfish? Sharks.
Yeah.
They had zero interest in me. It was more interesting me just watching them kind of swim around in the rays. They just looked like they were flying. And I also had a lot less, I hadn't met you yet because I was much younger, and I didn't have that fear of being eaten by a shark. He's the one who put this fear in me. I never really feared the ocean or feared being attacked by anything. And then,
well, look, the likelihood of you being attacked is very small, very rare. But the reality is it's always out there that it could happen. That's the reality of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
There's a guy called the Malibu Artist who really he does this YouTube channel where he takes his drone out most days out in California, and he's scanning the coast and he discusses sharks. He sees great whites out there. But the really thing that he discovers in a lot of cases is sometimes there's like
Multiple, yeah.
4 or 5 surfers out there, but it'd be like 7 great whites around them. And they're not attacking, they're just swimming around. But it doesn't mean that any one of those surfers couldn't end up being bitten or attacked.
Mhm.
There are times he's seen like a young boy on a boogie board. A great white was behind him and then turned away at the last minute. So these are, as he would put it, kind of jarring moments where he's the guy who's flying the drone. Now, people know him out there because his drone has like little shark teeth underneath it. So if he's flying over kayakers or surfers, they know who he is. So that's alerting them that there's a shark nearby. But he hasn't caught any sharks attacking anybody. But he does a lot of things for educational purposes. But I like the idea of the drone as something that most beaches should utilize to begin with for safety measures. Like if you have a tourist, a tourist attraction, or resort, having something like that probably be a cool thing to have because it'd be helpful to detect that there's sharks in the water at the time that people are getting in the water. Now, with Vladimir, when you look at the video, which we'll show later here, when you look at the video, the day is kind of overcast. And from my knowledge about sharks and shark attacks, is really not the prime days to be getting in the water. And generally, I've seen some pictures of the resort. Some of the water is clear at times, but that day it was kind of murky. Another bad sign of, not wanting to be in the water. Apparently, there had been a couple women attacked a few weeks earlier, maybe by the same shark, maybe not. 9 times out of 10, it's not the same fish, but I did notice that in the video it was kind of overcast, and that kind of led me to believe that. And of course, he was isolated, so he was swimming by himself at this particular point. And I've seen where sharks will single out one person.
Easy target.
Yeah.
I mean, when I told you this, like when I was in Hawaii, I was with a bunch of my coworkers, a bunch of my shipmates, and we were kind of like not on a busy beach. Like Waikiki was further down shore, but we were more like on they call it like a public beach, public use beach, where people can just go and chill out. And that's exactly what we did. We just were there chilling out, enjoying the beautiful weather. And it was kind of like was like this rock wall, and then you could swim. But then a lot of the guys were going like around the rock wall. I wouldn't go that far. I was only going in maybe up to my waist, and it was very clear, so I felt comfortable. But there was this giant, looming, dark figure just coming up and coming up and coming up. And then I started going, hey, guys, it was a giant sea turtle coming up that close. And you can see it. I was actually afraid, and I don't normally go out that far in water. And I'm like, what the hell am I going to do? I can't swim faster than a shark. I can't get back to shore that far. But it was interesting. And resorts, if you think about it, they usually have like prime beach location.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what's interesting now is, which is really funny to me, but so you had all the outrage about the tiger shark and they killed it, but now that shark is being mummified for the Egyptian museum. And I'm thinking, boy, that's pretty classless after someone just lost their life that you want to put this thing in a museum. It was a big fish, granted.
Maybe it was like a record. That might be why they're mummifying it.
Maybe, but
because like maybe the largest one caught, or
the terror of the Egyptian.
Well, I mean, there's a stuffed tiger shark
in
Ocean City, and that was the largest fish ever caught. So I'm just wondering if that might be what this was. It was like a very large shark caught in that area. It might be one of the largest. And also, it's infamous now. So having that stigma attached to it, it might be an interesting draw.
Yeah, I don't know if I really agree. I mean, any other circumstance other than that one, I'd probably be okay with it. But it just seems kind of odd that they would do it right after someone just lost their life. Like, that just seems kind of classless, in my opinion. But
I mean, I don't. It's kind of interesting. Maybe they're treating it like a trophy, like a trophy hunter would, have.
maybe if they're trying to celebrate the fact they got the shark.
We I'm the one who got the shark, so I'm donating it to this museum to mummify it. That's honestly all I can think. I don't think I would hope it's not in a disrespectful fashion. I would hope it's more of a way to say, hey, look what I did, and the shark is now not going to eat another person.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, despite the conditions of the water, Vladimir wasn't like out of line. Like, he was swimming where they were designated to swim.
He wasn't like. See, I know you've seen it, and you said it's. I kind of like. I heard you watching it the other day, so you wanted to kind of let me see the full footage so I can get the effect, I guess, because I could hear people just kind of going, "Oh my god, oh my god."
Yeah, but like then cases like Cameron Robbins, he might have been drunk or whatever, but he jumped overboard in the middle of the night while they're partying on this boat.
And they said it was shark infested waters, and then they were looking at some of it's dark, but they had some cameras. Like, all ships have cameras around.
Well, someone just on a phone.
Mm-hmm. They saw the sharks. Like,
well, that's the thing. It's still pretty unclear whether or not there's a shark there. Most people think there is. I'm not saying there's not, but he reacts in a way that he goes away from the buoy which they throw out to him in the water. And,
so they think he might have been pulled.
Well, no, he turns like clearly, like, he's here, and then the buoy's here, but then there's a splash over here, and so he's making his way, but then quickly turns, and then people are still saying he's the one screaming in the water, but I think it's more someone else on the boat. I don't hear him scream. Like, I don't really either. I'm just the video I saw.
Do you have that video saved too?
Not with us, no, but. The clearest one even that I saw just doesn't. It sounds like it's coming from behind the camera person and not out in the water, but it could be him.
It's hard because when you're out there, and I'm only just saying this from experience, it's barren. Like, so there's not a lot of sound being bounced off of anything except for the ship.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's really kind of weird too, because even if he sees a shark, like, and they say it's kind of hard when you're down on the surface as opposed to up above, but even if you see a shark, like, your instinct should be to get to the boat. Like, he turns back out to sea to the away from the boat, so that makes no sense. So either he's disoriented because he is drinking, which apparently he did this on a dare. If you're someone who dared him to do this, I hope you feel bad.
I mean, when you're 18, you're invincible.
Yeah, it's bad. And then a year ago, the Simon Nealis thing with the white shark breaching, he apparently had swam this part of the water a few times, preparing for his marathon. But as I stated in that video, he leaves where most of the people are swimming to go out to deeper water, which is a prime place for sharks to jump up from underneath.
Oh yeah, that's right. They love to get that speed and kind of.
Yeah, and so he unfortunately met a demise that was not so well. He got consumed as well.
Was he wearing a wetsuit?
Doubtful. No, he wasn't, in fact, because you can see his torso floating as the shark comes back to get it.
Oh.
Yeah, it's pretty gruesome. And this is, like I tell people, it's like, I'm only showing you this because it's to help you kind of learn about situations and awareness of where you are in the ocean. Like, I'm not trying to deter people for not going in the ocean, but you do have to be aware.
You deterred me.
But this is their domain. You just have to be aware. You've probably been in the ocean before, and there's probably been sharks out there. It just happens. They're out there. If you're one of the unlucky ones that get bit or attacked, that's just how it is. But So yeah, that was a pretty crazy story. But Vladimir is another one where this is probably the clearest video, because the other one wasn't even that clear either. But
Because it's so dark out.
well, that plus Simon's is like from a distance,
Yeah,
far more
yeah.
distance. But this is caught like pretty clear, and I mean, people are going to say, well, why aren't there people rushing in the water? Why isn't there a boat? Their boat does show up later, but
it's a little bit tricky for like from our vantage point because we're watching it from a camera. So remember, things get a little bit skewed, and they probably zoomed in, but you can see that there are people going kind of towards him from the side. So I think it's a little bit further away than like what you think because the camera is zoomed in. So you're like, oh, they're right there. Well, they're right there, but they're not. And they're not like in a position to get there quick enough to maybe grab him. But they're, as DJ Anubis said, there were people in boats coming to him, but it's off screen. So it's further away. And I'm sure the people on shore saw that the boat was coming to get them because if there's a shark in there, are you going to go in after someone else? I mean, that's kind of common sense. I would not. I would not walk into a water during a shark attack.
Well, yeah, I mean, people, there could be someone who would dive in to try to help them, but you do put yourself at risk of being attacked as well. This shark clearly wanted to consume something. Probably starving, could have been pregnant. We don't even know. So you do put yourself at risk by jumping in there. That's the other thing about the Cameron Robbins thing is that if a shark was out there at the time that you jumped in, the minute you hit the water and made a splash, it will alert something. So could have been a bull shark, could have been anything out there, but it would immediately have gone to where the splash happened because it's assuming with a boat, food usually gets thrown overboard.
Oh yeah, that's after you're so many nautical miles from the shore, ships discharge their food scraps because it goes to the bottom of the ocean and all the bottom feeders eat it.
Yeah, and then little fish eat it, and of course that will draw sharks to where the little fish are, and so they get used to the idea that these boats have food of some sort for them. The other thing is, one thing that I always like to talk about is my debates with researchers and activists who constantly go out there and they say, well, sharks aren't really bad or anything. I mean, technically they're not.
They're not.
But they are predators. There's no way getting around it. There's no mistaken identity. That's been proven to be a myth. They've discovered that great whites and sharks have very good eyesight. So if they see a surfer from above, they can see her quite clearly, but they're opportunists.
Yeah, I mean, they may not. We're not their preferred food. They would really like a seal.
Yeah, they like the fatty oils and everything that helps generate and keeps some metabolism and everything going. But it doesn't mean that they aren't getting any kind of food recently with anything. In the case of Simon, he said, fuck it, I'm going to eat whatever that is up there. And because they're so used to seals being, this is Australia, so you're so used to seals being out there that.
And seals swim around boats all the time. So do dolphins. They like the wake. So you do see a lot of dolphins and seals like very often. It's actually really interesting. It was one of my favorite things on this last job that I did because we were in the Singapore Strait, and these were like smaller sized dolphins. They weren't bottlenose dolphins. And at night, I would just be out there and you'd see, and just depending on whatever they were like going after, could be like there were little fish in the water too. Dolphins were eating the little fish.
They hunt together. People didn't believe me. Dolphins and sharks will kind of utilize each other to get these balls of fish to get going so they can go in and feed. Sorry, the cat's misbehaving, of course.
Come here.
Break time with the cat.
This is my great white shark.
But there's a couple of cases where one is a woman named Ocean Ramsey who often swims with great whites and tiger sharks and stuff. And she had a moment in a video, it's out there on YouTube, where she was getting ready to go into the water, and luckily she didn't because a tiger shark had come right up at her. So that was like a near miss. They try to blow it off. No big deal. But yeah, it's a big deal. And that's, again, if you're jumping right into the water, sometimes that's a clear indication that maybe a splash is your fish or something.
I think that's true. Like, the splash, they're like, oh, here comes some fish.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a big fish.
Yeah.
For me.
The other one is something I saw a few months back when they did Shark Week, and this guy named Jimmy was in a glass cage. It was just plexiglass, and he's out there. The big shark, Great White, was out there, and it broke through and almost got him.
Got through the plexiglass?
Yeah, I got a nice little video of that. It's a scary moment, so it's kind of crazy.
Show me this. Oh, I gotta buckle up here.
Buckle it up. Yeah, he has a close call, but again,
these people are way more brave than me.
Well, you could tell he's terrified, like, when it happens, and that's my point. It's like, you think you know animals, but you don't. Mm-hmm. They're unpredictable. That's why they're wild. So when you go out there doing stupid things, you're going to win stupid prizes. And he's very lucky here. So here we go.
Summertime, of course, means hitting the beach, but a string of shark attacks in the Northeast is putting swimmers on high alert. A warning now. Some of these pictures you're about to watch are a little gory. A 16-year-old surfer was bitten by a shark this week off of Fire Island in New York, leaving him with a pretty sizable gash on his foot. You can see it right there. The teen compared the experience to getting stuck in a bear trap. And
now I'm skipping ahead. Here we go.
Is that a shark?
Oh. Sharks can jump. He could jump right in there.
Here it goes.
God, look what this fucking did. It's him!
Broke it.
And it's like sinking because it's filling up.
Yeah. Yeah, he had to swim back to the boat. He was lucky. I mean, he's moving too. It's like Tremors trying to sit on that little tire.
You can do it, Jimmy. You can do it.
Wow. And just a note to our viewers, he did survive that.
Yeah, so
shit.
That was a crazy moment because he was out there and it was circling, it was bumping it at first. It does the bumping thing. And then finally he decides I'm going to go after it and broke right through it. So, I mean, if that shark would have gotten him, it would have bitten him in half easily. It was a big fish. So.
And can you imagine what that feels like?
Well, the funny thing about it all is...
Well, you can. You've been bitten by a shark. So explain to me what it felt like when you got bit by a shark.
Well, mine wasn't even near as bad. Like I said.
I know, but like that surfer at the beginning, he had a bite. Yours was worse than his because it kind of like ripped your skin. But
yeah, I had like a little bit of flesh dangling, but we were spearfishing. And
you knew the risks.
Yeah. I mean, I was young, but you still know, you get taught the risk there. But the thing is, though, like, they keep trying to push these boundaries with these sharks, especially the big ones, and eventually it's going to get you. And then, like, even if he would have gotten killed on camera, they probably would have never shown it because they're trying so hard to protect the species, which I get.
It's important. They are protected species because for years.
But you can't sit there and like avoid showing stupidity.
You can't avoid the topic. Yes.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of what they were doing is for research purposes, clearly, but it's dangerous work. These are unpredictable animals. You can't just be turn it on and turn it off. Like, So I just can't even imagine, like, what did it feel when you were bit? You knew you were getting bit because you saw the shark going after your fish. So, like,
Well, at first I didn't even know it got me. Like it got my fish, but it managed to catch part of my arm. So it was, like I said, it was probably like a 8 to 10 foot blackfin. And so, at first you're not really feeling anything. It's salty water, it's kind of numb. It used to be they thought that sharks, when they bit you, because you didn't always feel it right away, they thought there was like venom in their teeth.
oh, interesting.
Yeah, but no, it's just at first you don't feel it.
He wasn't even interested in you. He just wanted your fish. He's like, I don't want your stupid arm.
Yeah, but but then again, like look at Rodney Fox back in the '70s and late '60s. Before he filmed the stuff for Jaws with Valerie, his wife. He got attacked by a great white whale spearfishing, and the shark a shark could have gone after his bell where the fish were, but this is a little bit before we had the information we do about sharks now. But he became a big activist and researcher of great whites and stuff. But yeah, he almost lost his life. It gave him some pretty good. It had his whole body.
And ironically, my next tattoo will be a black tipped reef shark right here on my arm for my man.
All right, well, we're going to get to the video now. So for those that don't want to watch this, you can skip through.
And I'm going to watch it probably. That other one without being bit was enough of drama for me, so.
Yeah. But, the thing is, like in this case here, again, it's another case of the shark consuming the person because it's hungry. Most cases when it comes to attacks, it's like bite and gone. But this was a case where this was going to be.
And to your point, the person's being eaten. It is a resort area. Maybe because it's so busy, the shark's natural food is not around. So he's an opportunist, just kind of saying, I need to eat.
Or just knows that there's a lot of activity out there.
A delicious person just waiting. Oh my God.
All right. Well, here's the attack footage of Vladimir.
Oh my God!
Keeping her call for his dad.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
He's trying.
Yep.
Oh my God! Ah! Oh my God! What is this? Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God!
See, there's a boat. They were coming. You see how far away everything is.
They was trying to get away from him. That's clearly, though, when you have a shark that's determined, it wasn't going to go away. So yeah, pretty disturbing, and I feel bad for the father who probably had to witness that firsthand. It's really strange too. Like I said, he's not doing anything illegal. He's not in the wrong
He's not
part.
doing. He's just swimming.
But you don't see a lot of other swimmers either, and I don't know if he's just further out than everybody.
Oh my God! You saw some boats behind him. What if they're fishing?
That's a possibility. That's one thing about the Simon Nealis case that they talk about is that Simon wasn't paying attention the day he went swimming because there were fishers on the rocks, and that's usually a dead giveaway.
It's so hard
to draw in sharks.
Yeah.
So it's really unfortunate, but again, I kind of see the cloudy skies, and
and it was so sad.
by
You
himself.
heard you can tell it's a resort. You hear the music playing. And then there's this grizzly scene. He did look to be out quite far.
Yeah.
Not far to the point where, like, it was pretty calm water. He could easily swim back, but far that he might be close enough to where the boats were, and if they were fishing, it could have drawn in sharks easily.
Yeah, and I wonder sometimes, because sometimes with like resort beaches and stuff, like I said, I saw some pictures where it's actually kind of nice and blue. But sometimes swimmers will try to go beyond where it starts to dip down, and
It gets
that's
deeper.
yeah, and that's
Yeah.
where sharks like to kind of like patrol.
They like to be right by that cliff.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's so crazy. Like when you're in deep water, like you see the water being blue, but it's like navy. It's dark. It's hard to describe because I don't know how to describe it.
and that's the thing. If you're, if you've been to nice beaches, it's clear to a certain point, and once it drops off, it turns to dark blue. I just don't know how far out he was, but you have a boat clearly in front of him, and then someone behind him. So I'm not even sure that I want to be there, even if without the shark. Like you could take a chance of getting hit by a boat. Like I don't know like where exactly he is, in accordance with where the rest of the swimmers are. Yeah. But some people tend to be brave and go out deeper because they like either cooler water or whatever.
I used to do that when I was a teenager. I would swim out really far, and I was a pretty strong swimmer when I was younger. So, like, you would kind of like swim out past the breakers, as they say, so that you're not constantly being nailed by waves. And that's where you're like treading water. You're out there, and I would do it for hours, and it would just tire you the fuck out, man.
Yeah.
And I mean, it could be just, he's a young man and just looking to enjoy himself. But wow.
Now the funny thing is too, and I don't know what, because we don't see the footage beforehand, but his girlfriend was out there with him, and she managed to get out, but he did not. So
maybe they were kind of out there just like splish splashing together, and then he's like, "Oh my god, something just bit me," and run away, and she.
Yeah, it's tough, man.
How old was he?
23. So they did get some remains from the shark, and his dad has him say he's going to take him home and cremate him, but that's got to be a nightmare.
So sad. So young. Just on holiday, just vacation.
But like I said, this kind of video is mainly for information, education, and awareness.
And to understand that,
it's
they live there. We're visiting.
Yeah. We get, as humans, we tend to be a little bit arrogant when it comes to this planet Earth that we live on, that we own everything, but we share it with a bunch of variety of creatures in the world. And, you have to be wary of stuff like that. Again, chances of being bitten are very rare. Sharks have been swimming around people for ages without them even knowing it, and they don't bite them.
I mean, sharks have been regarded as gods in, ancient Hawaiian.
Especially tigers.
Yeah. Ancient Hawaiian, lore. They highly regarded sharks.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure a lot of those South Pacific islands and the Polynesian islands and all, very similar stories, because a lot ancient times when there weren't, motorboats, they all would have, they'd paddle between each other, and they had, canoes and stuff, and they would see this because this is deep water. Even though they're going in between small islands, it's still very deep because most of them are volcanic anyway. It's tremendous. It's insane. Like, I mean,
that's why I stay on land now.
I enjoy.
If I need to get in the water, I'll go get a pool.
He's like, I'll just dip my toes in the pool.
Yeah.
I completely respect sharks.
No, they're beautiful creatures. They have a purpose with the ecosystem, but they are predators. Like they will eat you and consume you if they choose to. Like may not happen all the time. A lot of times it won't.
What about the story of if you poke a shark in its eye or punch it in the nose, it'll disorient it, and you might be able to. Now, granted, that guy was being thrashed around, but if you were face to face with a shark and it started attacking you, like,
Well,
is there truth in if you poke them in the eye or punch them in their nose, it'll disorient them and you might be able to scooch away a little bit?
well, their noses have a lot of sensory on it. So most times when you see these researchers and activists swimming with them, if a white shark breaches the water, whether they'll put their hand on their nose and the shark kind of like turns away and its eyes roll back and leaves. The girl, Ocean Ramsey, she'll do this where she'll be out there, the tiger will come at her, but she puts her hand on its nose and then kind of guides it away from her. The only issue with that is, now granted, she's experienced, so she's been in a lot of these.
She's a researcher,
encounters.
so she knows what she's doing.
But all it takes is that one time where the shark doesn't respond in the way that you want.
Oh, remember the guy with the bull sharks?
Yes, and that's what I'm talking about. Like he's like, see, we're not moving, we're not doing anything, and it still took a bite out. Yeah, took it.
And they were they were only up to their knees.
And he survived, but he had a big scar and learned a lesson there. And that's the thing. Like again, they're unpredictable. You can't assume anything. But back to your question is, can go for the eyes. Gills are another good spot to go for, and you just try to detour it that way. Chances are, if you're going to try to go for its nose, you might end up with your hand in its mouth. Anyway,
so it better be going to like the eyes are on the side and the gills are on the side. So like if it's already got you, like maybe got a leg, you go like and just try to hit its. I don't even know what I would do. I don't know. I mean, I do have more of a fight versus flight kind of personality. So, but sometimes the sheer shock and everything, you just don't know what you're going to do in that kind of situation ever.
Yeah, I can guarantee he did not see it coming. Like it, I mean, it probably wasn't like a real huge hit, but like the shark probably came up and then did bite into him, probably in his arm. It looks like probably this arm was gone. So that's why he's kind of like swimming this way. Because you don't ever see this arm come up. So he was clearly hit somewhere over here. But even if it was like a test bite, like a tiger shark's teeth are sort
serrated.
of. Yeah. And so it would be like a chainsaw just cutting through flesh. But yeah, he probably never saw it coming. Like it probably was no fin, no warning. Probably came up from like a diagonal shot, but yeah, it's unfortunate. But again, we felt like we needed to talk about this because occasionally this stuff comes up. The footage was interesting because this was a rare moment where the shark was definitely feeding. It wasn't kind of like bite and go. This wasn't.
Usually when we see these, it's like bite and go.
Yeah.
Like the female surfer who lost her arm, it was like kind of bite and go. There was another. Do you remember that? I believe it was an Australian couple, and they were very far out, and they were surfing. So remember, they had their boards, and they were just and she got bit, and he had to get her to. I don't remember their names, but it was an Australian couple, and she got really wrecked.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some big sharks out there.
But they were out so far, it took quite a while to get back in. I know a lot of surfers do enjoy that, like just paddling out and enjoying, the gentle waves.
Well, and that's why I think that these drones should be put to use like that. There's like nets and stuff can be sort of prevented, but they also kill a lot of other animals in the ecosystem, so they're kind of worthless. Yeah, but if you've got people with drones like scanning the beaches every 15 minutes or whatever,
especially if it's quite populated.
Yeah, dude, all you gotta do is your lifeguards or whoever you want to hire to do it, have them scan it in the morning because surfers will get there early because of all the breaks. Let them know that if you see some sharks, they are out there. You can't force people not to go out there, but if you're saying, look, just be warned, I saw a couple of sharks out there, look kind of big, so just be wary.
One of my coworkers, he is an avid surfer, and he goes on quite a few vacations. Like, he just came back from Nicaragua, and I asked him, I'm like, because he was telling me, like, it was like a campsite. Like, Nicaragua is not, it's very poor there. And he said for $60 a night, they were treating him like he was a billionaire, like a king, because he upgraded to, like, it was like a elevated kind of hut thing, and he had a bed and everything, but it was, no air conditioning. It's a surf camp kind of thing.
Surf Nicaragua.
So he literally keeps himself in shape all year so he can be in tip-top surfing shape, and that's what he every day he goes to the gym before work and so besides just shark issues, he told me he had a really scary incident in Nicaragua where, because of the rip currents, and he's like, if I would not have, because you can't go, we live up here, surfing's not great up here. He loves Costa Rica surfing, but Nicaragua has some great surf too. He's like, if I would not keep myself in condition, I would have died. The rip current would have taken me away and I would have drowned.
Yeah.
So you can,
and sometimes they can smash you against rocks and everything else, so you have to be really careful where you're at.
But I have never asked him if he's ever encountered any kind of sharks, and he surfs several times a year. And his goal in life is to save up enough money so he can retire to Costa Rica. And
if you really want to blow his mind, say, have you ever seen the guy in the tuxedo?
Who?
When you talk to your friend, ask him if he's ever seen the guy in the gray suit. That's a reference to a white shark.
Oh, is that what surfers say? The
Yeah.
guy in the gray suit?
Yeah.
He might have. He's very...
sometimes they could see them and not have any encounter with them, but, could you imagine, I don't know, surfing through a tube and then, you can see in the water, there's, a shark there, It's like, holy shit.
What do you even do? You just keep your balance?
Just keep going, yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever surfed?
No.
I boogie boarded, just kind of...
Tried jet skiing, but that was at a lake.
Yeah, every time I've jet skied, it has not been in...
Of course, this was the old ones where you stood up, and that was really tough.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, I like to sit down so you do better.
I've only jet skied a few times, but everywhere I jet ski is not rough. I did, though, when I was in Mexico, kayak in the ocean, the Gulf of Mexico, which is similar to the ocean. Didn't die. And I have never worked so hard in my entire, it's rough. Even though it's not as, the waves are not, as strong as you would think, in California or whatever, but so I was not falling out of that thing. I did everything I could to keep myself upright because there was lots of people flipping over, and I'm like, how the fuck am I getting back in this thing if I flip over? And I don't want to get killed. But then, so.
All right.
Shark Talk. That's what we should start.
Shark Talk.
Today on Shark Talk.
Thank you all for checking this out and viewing this. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. It helps out a lot for us.
Share it with your friends who also like sharks. And
I'll be linking the other video I did last year in the description on this one too. So in case people want to go back and check out that one as well.
Final thoughts are, though, you don't have to be a giant pussy like me and completely avoid the world because you're scared of being attacked by sharks. You just heard.
Well, you weren't being a pussy because you were on a ship for a few years.
Yeah. And I did get, like I just said, I just kayaked in the Gulf of Mexico where there are known tiger shark attacks.
Yeah.
So, but just respect them. That's all.
Yeah.
Just be aware. Go out in groups. Don't
just be aware.
Don't jump off of a cruise ship in the middle of the night in shark-infested waters.
Yeah.
And
be safe.
Yes.
All right, everyone. Thanks again. Keep it metal. We'll see you again.
You see me for